Good morning. I'll call this Board of Fire Commissioners meeting to order, and we will start with a salute to the flag. Commissioner Garcia, if you'll please lead us in the salute.
My pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, if you'll help us with a roll call.
Sure. Alexis Hill, Chair.
Here.
Jeannie Herman, Vice Chair. Appears to be absent. Michael Clark.
Present.
Mary Luz Garcia.
Here.
Clara Andriola.
Present.
Fire Chief Charles Moore.
Charlie Moore, present.
Chief Deputy District Attorney Mary Canderas. And I'm Chief Deputy Clerk Kathy Smith. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll now move into item 3. Chief Moore.
Item 3 is public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners agenda. District will also hear public comment during individual action items, with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. Cliff Lowe.
Okay.
Hello. Hello, Commissioners. Any rumors of my demise are greatly exaggerated. I think most of you are too young to remember a TV program from decades ago. It was a sitcom called Car 54, Where Are You? I guess you might title my public comment today, Station 31, Where Are You? 31? What's 31? Well, to renew your memories, 31 is the number designated for the station to replace 30 and 32 in Washoe Valley. Where is it? I don't remember there even being a groundbreaking ceremony. I'm referring to staff reports and minutes from meetings of this board, although some of these go back before any of you were on this board. So this is from January of 2020. On motion by the chair and seconded by Commissioner Hartung, carried on a 5-0 vote. It was ordered that the chief's presentation be accepted. I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. It was further ordered that, referring to stations 30 at Bowers and 32 at Eastlake, that neither station be closed until the consolidated station was fully built and operational. And I might mention here, and staff continue to work to include a Washoe County Sheriff's Office substation and a location for a REMSA helipad, January 2020. And then in August of, not last August, August of 22, Station 30, the Bowers Station, was closed, and I continue to think under questionable circumstances, but I don't think anybody wants to revisit that. But here it was on motion by Commissioner Lucy and seconded by Commissioner Jung, which motion carried on a 4-0 vote with Commissioner Herman absent. It was ordered that the completion of Station 31 be completed as quickly as possible, and that Chief Moore's recommendation, as outlined in the staff report, be approved. September 6th, 2022. There may be a lot of explanations. Here's in the staff report regarding the closing of Station 30. The architect for the design of the newly consolidated station has completed the programming phase. I expect to receive a proposal for the next design phase within the next 2 weeks for consideration by the board in October. To begin construction, the board will need to approve debt financing, and those recommendations are forthcoming in the next few months. If the board approves these steps, construction could begin in May or June of 2023, with completion in May of 24. I don't think a shovel has touched the ground yet. I'm usual running out of my 3 minutes. I could probably give you another.
Thank you.
No one else has signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now move into item 4. Chief Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 4 is Commissioners, Fire Chiefs announcements. Requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements relating to items not on the agenda. No discussion among commissioners will take place on this item.
Thank you very much. And just to make a note, Madam Clerk, Vice Chair Herman is on the phone. And so Vice Chair Herman, I will do my best to call on you, and I will call on you after I call on the chief here for announcements. Chief, do you have any announcements for us?
Nothing that is not going to be in the chief's report.
Okay, thank you very much. Vice Chair Herman, do you have any announcements?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Commissioner Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to follow up on Mr. Lowe's comments and maybe ask the chief to clarify some of this chronological order on this particular station, starting from January 2020. We're now into April of 2024. The Bowers Mansion, not Bowers Mansion, the Bowers Station was closed in 2022. We got the go-ahead to build the new station in September of 2022, and June 2023. I forget exactly what his comments were there. I didn't get them jotted down, but here it is with the station supposed to be completed in May of 2024. So I'd like the chief to fill us in on what took place and the extra costs and why this has been delayed. I see certain other things that the county has a special interest in getting built and popping up out of the ground, but this particular station, this might be the record for how slow government moves, to have this languishing so long. So maybe you could talk about that a little bit, Chief. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, I was going to say, Madam Chair, I don't want to have a lot of discussion on this. I think this topic is probably better suited for an agenda topic, because I think there is a fair amount of explanation involved, which would also give the public the ability to come and comment. So if there's going to be some discussion, I ask that it be very limited and that we consider making an agenda item.
Certainly. I think it needs to be an agenda item, and I agree with you, but I think if we could get just 5 minutes from the chief, kind of an overview, maybe to lay a foundational basis to have that agenda item on the agenda in the future. We can get a little bit of an update from the chief. He's got some historical knowledge that people need to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, DA Canderas, and I'm sure the chief has heard the guidance. So, Chief, feel free to give us a brief update that we've discussed before on the station as a board, but certainly can hear from you now.
Sure. So the architecture is in progress, because the station that we're designing for Apple is the exact mirror image of what we'll design for Washoe Valley. And the design development drawings are in progress for Apple, so there is a site adapt then that just needs to take place for Washoe Valley. The costs of building the station in just 3 years have doubled. And what we were forecasting for about $6 million are now $15 million. And the district has to finance that amount, and it has to have the capacity to finance that much debt. And in talking to our bond consultant, we do not have the C-tax capacity currently to be able to finance that much debt. And unfortunately, with inflation and the diminishment of our C-tax, we don't have that ability. We do have the ability to apply for financing through the State Investment Bank, which we're in progress, and that's going out actually in the next week. We've been waiting for the contractor to respond to some timeline issues and some other constructability issues that the application needs. So we have that virtually all together. Well, we'll apply for the financing, and we may hear back from the State Investment Bank, I think, at the June meeting. So yes, there has been a delay, but it's been for circumstances that are largely financial. It is front and center of my things to do. But unfortunately, things have set us back. I did want to build Hidden Valley back in 2019, and I believe that the board said, hold on that. They thought that the architecture was too expensive. So we went back and we redid all of the architecture bids, and the architecture bid came back at exactly the same price, and we lost a year to a year and a half of momentum. And even Hidden Valley, we have not started that yet. So I'm not trying to throw the board under the bus, but there were requests of me by previous boards to do more due diligence on,
Sure.
on the costs of this, and, we're moving forward. With respect to Bowers, unfortunately, I'm simply not going to put my staff at risk with bats and mice running around in the kitchen and flying around in the living room. If I get one bat that bites an employee, that's a series of rabies shots, and it's potentially lung diseases with, we know that there is guano in the walls and in around the stations. It was just not a healthy thing for my staff to be in.
Right, and this board decided in a public meeting to not move forward with that lease agreement as well.
So in a nutshell, things are delayed, yes. Things are still moving forward, however.
Great. Well, maybe we can do an agenda item for our next meeting to discuss it in more detail and hear from folks who wanted to speak to it during public comment. Thank you, Chief. Anything else, Commissioner Clark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to make it very clear that I have complete confidence in Chief Moore. I think his hands have been tied, but this is an example of something that you could have bought a few years ago for $5 million, and now it's $12 or $13 million. How does that, first of all, it's a public safety issue because the station isn't open, but secondly, it's an absolute waste of taxpayer dollars by slowing down and not moving forward. And this isn't just this fire station. This is any and everything that this county needs to be looking at. They need to take a lesson from this, and this particular lesson is costs more, don't get to use it, and the public's could be in jeopardy because of, or not, not life or death per se, but I'm sure there's still coverage. There's that argument, but the point is it didn't get done, and it's going to cost twice as much, and we didn't have the use of it, and on and on and on. So this isn't just the fire station. This is everything that the county needs to be looking at. So thank you, Chief, for your work on this, and I certainly don't blame you at all. Your hands are tied. We need to help you get your job done. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? I'm not seeing any. So now we will move into item 5. These are our consent items, A through E. Chief, do you have any changes with the consent calendar?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, looking to the board to see if there are folks who have questions. Not seeing any. Commissioner Garcia?
I do have a question on 5D, so if we could pull that.
Okay, absolutely. So we'll pull 5D. Any other questions on the agenda from the board? I'm not seeing any, so I am looking for a motion on A, B, C, and E on the consent.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
thank you, Commissioner Andriol, and a
Second.
second by Commissioner Garcia. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on the consent? I didn't
There's
see
none.
any. Okay, thank you. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay.
Aye.
Great. And that motion passes unanimously. So 5D, Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, thank you, Chief Moore. I'm all for going after grants, especially ones that deal with health and wellness. And I just was curious because the staff report really didn't go into some of the successful outcomes that Sparks had. And I was wondering if anybody, staff or you, could touch on what we saw in terms of gains and outcomes for that pilot that took place at Sparks.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. The City of Sparks initiated this initially. They hired this physical therapist to work with their new trainees to build the certain flexibility and strength that they need to get through the academy, and they had good success with that. We meet with the City of Sparks quite often, and we discuss this as a matter of cooperation where perhaps we could hire the same person to do this for both of our academies. And then the discussion grew into maybe we ought to just do this for all of our staff, which was, I think, a great idea. We do occasionally get workers' comp injuries from either shoulders or backs or whatnot, so the proper lifting techniques and flexibility is key to trying to keep our workers' comp claims down. So what led to that, what came from that discussion is let's apply for a grant since the Assistance to Firefighter grant period was open, and we both agreed. We invited the city of Reno. They initially expressed some interest, but we never heard back from them to move forward on it. So the time of the grant ran out and we had to apply, and we applied with the city of Sparks and us. So we're waiting to hear. This would be conditional, of course, on getting a successful grant award and moving forward.
Okay. Any public comment on this item, Madam Clerk? Okay, I am looking for a motion. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Looking for a second. Thank you, Commissioner Angelo.
Second? Oh, go ahead.
Any questions on the motion? I'm sorry, Vice Chair Herman, were you doing a
It's
second?
okay. No, I was, yeah,
Okay.
but that's okay.
Great. All right, well, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please
Aye.
say nay. Great, and that passes unanimously. We'll now move into item 6. Chief.
Thanks, Madam Chair. We'll do this from the podium, and Chief Ketchering will lead us, but this is a presentation of a life-saving award to Captain Daniel Boyer and firefighter paramedic Alex Dorr. And I'll join them down there.
Wonderful.
Good morning. Oh, is
Good
this on?
morning.
Can you hear me?
It's, doesn't, well, continue to talk and maybe they'll,
For the record, Chris Ketchering, Captain Boyer. And firefighter, paramedic Dorr. When the chief gets here, we'll go ahead and start. So I'm honored to stand before you to provide the life-saving awards to Captain Dan Boyer and firefighter paramedic Alex Dorr for delivering effective and efficient services to the community we serve for the protection of life and property. So while responding to another incident, their engine was diverted to a structure fire in Hidden Valley. When they arrived on scene, they had a working fire. They made entry into the home and they rescued someone from the second floor of a working structure fire. That person was treated and transported to the hospital and made a full recovery. A firefighter may go through their whole career without completing a rescue, even though we train for it routinely. This incident occurred a few years ago when firefighter Dorr was a probationary firefighter and was only his second working structure fire. As an organization, we are incredibly proud of Captain Boyer and firefighter Dorr for their actions on that day and their continued accomplishments throughout their career. So with that, Chief Moore will go ahead and present their awards.
congratulations. Thank you so much. Very inspiring. Let's take a quick break and we'll take a picture and get to shake these heroes' hands. Well, that was so cool. Thank you. We now will move into item 7. Chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 7 is the National Weather Service report by Tony Fuentes. And as you know, we've had lots of moisture, probably more in the spring than we did in the winter, and that usually translates to more fuel to burn later on in the summer. So Tony's going to give us a heads up on what we can expect.
All the good
Welcome.
news. Can this advance the slides?
I think so.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
As mentioned too, just take a quick recap of what happened this past winter. Off to a really slow start. We were not doing well come December and January. This is a map of snowpack from our SNOTEL network around the region here. So started off about a third to a half of what we'd expect so far for the December and January timeframes. It was fairly slow, some improvement to about half of average by January. But it was really February and into March here that really kind of saved us, especially the end of February. As you remember, we had that blizzard come through Tahoe, dumped quite a bit of moisture, a lot of snowpack. So with that single storm, really pushed us right to about average right now. And with the recent storms we've had here in the past week or so, actually bumped a little bit above average as far as snowpack. So good news, just kind of came fairly late. This is also a plot here that we're looking at, what we call stormwater equivalent. So if you take the snowfall up the mountains and melt it down, that's how much water we're looking at here. So throughout most of the season here, starting in November, December, as I mentioned, you can see that black line. That's the current year's precipitation or snow water equivalent. And that green kind of line in the middle, that's about average conditions. So as you can see, we were off to a slow start through much of December, January, and even much of February. But you can see that big jump from about February to about March in that time frame. That was a blizzard that came through. It was a significant storm for these regions. We don't issue blizzard warnings very often. It does happen every couple of years or so. But just for some context, what that did for our snowpack and water supply. So basically, going back into the history books from our SNOTEL network, about 40 years worth of data, that single storm that we had in the end of February to the start of March gave us about 7 inches of liquid precipitation. So that's quite a bit of moisture from one storm. And looking back in the about 40-year history, there's only been about 16 storms that's put over 6 inches of liquid in about a 4-day period. And of those 16, there's only been 3 higher than what we saw at the end of February to the early March blizzard that we saw there. So with that single storm, it really kind of helped us at the tail end here and gave us some near normal to above normal moisture and snowpack. So good news from that standpoint there. As far as how it's looking drought conditions, we had that big winter last year. And then with the late season snowfall we had this season, we're looking at about a pretty good shape as far as drought's concerned, looking only like some abnormally dry conditions from the western portion of Nevada. So overall, much better than what we've seen in past years. This is a timeline of drought conditions and severity looking back to about 2000. You can see those really dry, big fire seasons and going back to 2020 to 2022 roughly. Very dry conditions out there. You can see after that with our winter last year, we really kind of erased that drought with one single season. So a big year. And also for this year, average conditions should help us out as far as what we expect looking in the fire season. Looking into the weather portion of what the season's looking like come to the middle of summer months here. So this is a outlook for July, August, and September. Overall, in the left panel there, we're looking at conditions favoring above normal temperature conditions. So warm outlook for the upcoming summer. Precipitation on the right panel there. This is an outlook done in the middle of February. The newest one that just released also pushes those favorable dry conditions farther south, including the southwest, portions of Southern California and Southern Nevada there too. So overall, the outlook in general is looking like warmer and drier conditions coming up for that portion of the season. We were embedded in an El Nino, and that is quickly fading into neutral conditions and likely a La Nina by coming into the middle of the summer. But overall, these oscillations between El Nino, La Nina here in the Sierra, Western Nevada, don't have a lot of correlation for us as far as what we can expect weather-wise. What we can tell, at least from La Ninas or going into the La Nina conditions, It can have some effect on the southwest monsoon, and that's important for us here because that can draw up thunderstorms during the summertime. So think dry lightning outbreaks, ignitions from thunderstorms. So a little bit of a less probability of having a big monsoon season, which can be good news as far as ignitions go and lightning starts. But as mentioned prior, there is a lot of moisture from last season and to current, so there's quite a bit of finer fuels that are being carried over from the crop last year, and also this year as well, as we got that late season push of snowfall and precipitation. So there is a decent amount of fine fuel carryover. Intel, this is coming from the Great Basin GAC. We're not fire or fuels experts at our office. But we also did have quite a bit of snow down here in the valleys. We had about 3 systems with about 6 inches or more of snowfall down here in the lower valley. So some of those fuels can be compacted down to the ground, maybe a little bit less available to burn initially. As I mentioned before, that this is more the fire potential outlook, significant wildland fire. This is coming from the predictive services, not our office. We're mostly the weather side. This is more of the fire outlook. So what we're looking at mainly, we're favoring some areas in the Great Lakes region, think Minnesota, Wisconsin, Texas Panhandle. And if you look out west, it's really not a lot painted for the Sierra and Western Nevada. And what we're looking at is roughly average, even some below average conditions with the recent moisture we had from last year and into this year with our average conditions. So overall, looking fairly quiet on that end, but we do have those fine fuel component that we're going to be looking at. So just kind of in summary here, this first bullet, some explanation. This is, again, coming from the Great Basin outlook. Almost certainly have a more active fire season compared to 2020, and that's really referring to last year being kind of a quiet season and having some fine fuel loads in there. But in the Sierra, though, we had a big winter last year, near average this year, so it could be leaning more towards normal to below normal fire activity. But again, that's going to really be dictated by the weather. You know, all bets are off. If you add a really prolonged hot period, dry conditions on there, it could really mitigate what we saw as far as snowpack, snow melt, and temperatures. So just quickly here, just some information about our office here. We have some contacts if you guys are on the email list for our daily weather briefings, what we call the freak out chart, just kind of outlook of what's coming out through the week ahead, some contacts there. If you're not on those, feel free to reach out and get on those, some forecast links as well. So I'll quickly just go through these very quickly, just for the sake of time. But in terms of what we issue, mainly that's fire related. In the summer times, we do issue fire weather watches. These are kind of a medium confidence event, 40 to 60% chance of occurring about 2 to 5 days in advance. And that's kind of where we're looking for a heads up for strong winds, dry conditions, and even a dry lightning outbreak. We'll issue a watch. Once our confidence gets higher in that 1 to 3 day time frame, we'll issue red flag warnings. That's more, we're expecting this high confidence event of those winds, dry conditions, and thunderstorms. Roughly, on average, about 10 to 20 events per season. Varies quite a bit depending on what we're looking at any given season. And also, you might see this verbiage out there, a particularly dangerous red flag warning, a PDS. This is issued maybe once a season. These are high-end weather events. So really strong winds, think 50 mile per hour type winds, very dry conditions, or a really kind of severe dry lightning outbreak. So we do classify some of these red flag warnings to really high-end, really dangerous situations. So you might see that PDS wording occasionally. If you're not signed up for alerts, you can visit this website. You can customize the warnings you want to get on your phone or email. It's available for you to sign up there at that website. And just to end up recapping, basically, looking at a warmer, drier summer, could stunt the monsoon season a little bit, but always a mixed confidence on seasonal predictions. It's just a little bit too far out. So overall, from the predictive services, looking kind of average, even some below average conditions for fire behavior in the Sierra, and overall looking pretty good as far as precipitation goes from this last season here, this late season. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the board? I'm not seeing any. 2023 was such a great summer, so fingers crossed. Exactly. Thank you so much for taking the time. Chief Moore, do you have any comments on the report?
I just want to emphasize that the red flag warnings are critical for our operation because we can staff up in advance, we can pre-position, we can do whatever we need to do with respect to the forecast, and it's enormously helpful. And the NWS is a great partner for us.
They are. They're amazing. And I'm signing up for their texting alerts right now. So thank you for that information. Okay, we will now move into item 8. Chief.
Item 8 is the International Association of Firefighters Local 2487 report.
Welcome.
Good morning. Jim Clauser, President, Local 2487, Captain with Truckee Meadows Fire. First, I want to apologize for my absence at last meeting, but I can assure you it was time well spent. We spent the week lobbying in Washington, D.C., which was a fascinating process. The 4 main issues that we were lobbying for were, first, to renew the SAFER grant. So some of you or many of you are probably familiar with that's been pretty popular throughout the area here in Nevada. It expires in 2024 nationally, federally. So that was on the books to renew that. Seemed to have a lot of positive support. So hopefully that's an option for us in the future. The second one was removing PFAS from our turnout gear. It's a known carcinogen. We're sort of about to enter the new cycle of updating our turnouts. Unfortunately, that law won't be passed in time to make a change, but we're hoping in the next round it will, because obviously cancer is a pretty big deal for us. And on that note, one of the other additions that we're looking to add is cancer to what we affectionately call the heart and lung bill. It's the Public Safety Officers Benefits Package. So right now, any heart or lung disease is presumptively assumed to be caused by our career. We're trying to add cancer to that. And again, that's getting a tremendous amount of support on the Hill, which is a really super huge positive benefit for us. The last item that was the biggest one was the Social Security benefit. Not to get into a boring history and politics lecture, but in 1983, it was determined that because firefighters have a good state pension, they would be removed from full Social Security benefits and given their own separate set of rules. Again, the Hill is backing by a tremendous amount the inclusion of us into the normal employees' Social Security system. So we would have the 10-year minimum instead of a 30, and we would be open to get the full benefit instead of the reduced benefit that we see now. So that one I'm pretty sure is going to pass. That one's pretty positive. I appreciate your patience with the negotiation cycle that we're in, and I would ask for continued patience. The workload that we've incorporated in this session is going to be unique because of the Wildland Division and the incorporation of that into our union. It's added roughly 50% more meetings than would normally be the minimum. So this cycle may take a little longer, not because of any negative issues, but just the process itself. We took on a tremendous body of work in trying to accomplish something that we think we can accomplish. We'll see how that goes one way or another, but it's just a lot more work than normal. So if it starts to feel like we're pushing the boundaries timeline-wise, it's just because the process itself got expanded by the nature of inclusion of that group into our union and what we're trying to do moving forward. So they're not. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Looking to the board to see if there's any questions or comments. I'm not seeing any. Vice Chair Herman, just want to make sure if you have any questions. Okay, thank you. We will now move into item 9. Chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to jump around on the numbers there and ask Chief Eisenhagen to give you an update on the Jasper's Fuel Reductions Project. Since we've talked about how slow the cogs of government turn sometimes, this fire occurred in 2019, and we're just now getting the grant award some 5 years later. But nevertheless, it's significant, and Chief Eisenhagen will let you know what we're doing.
Good morning. For the record, August Eisenhagen, Division Chief, Truckee Meadows. The last few months, we have brought 2 what we call HMGP grant awards to the board for approval. One for the Jasper Fire in 2019, another one for the Long Valley Fire in 2019. Those 2 projects combined are about $1.5 million in funding, and crews have started working mostly on the Jasper project, but they just began the Long Valley side last week. So the Jasper project is mostly on the west side of Spanish Springs, running south from the high school, as well as in Sun Valley on the regional park parcel and some of the parcels around that. The Spanish Springs portion is about 40% complete. The Sun Valley portion is about 20% complete. Like I mentioned a couple weeks ago, crews began on the Long Valley HMGP project, and that is in Silver Knolls, on the west side of Silver Knolls, and they're about 10% complete with that. All of these projects are centered around creating fuel breaks in and around our communities, making them more defendable when we have wildland fire. And then lastly, big thank you to former Deputy Chief Alex Kukulis, because he led the charge on these in terms of the initial applications. But they did take 4 years to get in place. They're FEMA grants. That's all I have, unless there are questions.
I'm not seeing any questions from the board. Great work. Very exciting.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, let me update you on curbside chipping. We do have members of the community who are disabled or low income or elderly and can't bring all of their green waste to a collection point because it's just hard to do physically. So for those citizens, we're happy to go to their homes and chip them on site. We're accepting applications through May 7th, and the chipping will take place May 14th through the 20th. So Mr. Mayberry will push that out to the media a little stronger as we get a little bit closer, and certainly help those citizens who just can't lift the heavy stuff and bring it to us. And on that note, we're also in open burning. The moisture right now is certainly making that very, very safe. Well, not very safe, but safer than in years past because of the moisture in the ground. Citizens who can't necessarily transport large pieces of lumber to the green waste collection can burn that on site when they have large acreage. The minimum is a 1 acre lot, and then they have to be outside of the hydrographic basin. On our website is a link where they can apply, and the computer software will tell them whether or not they qualify for an open burning permit. So you will see likely lots of columns of smoke throughout our jurisdiction this month, and that's largely what that is from. And then our green waste event will be only one weekend this year, so that's coming up middle of April, and we'll also push that out via the media. And that's all I have to report, Madam Chair.
Great. Thank you, Chief. And it looks like there is public comment on this item, Madam Clerk, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Cliff Lowe.
I'm not sure I'll be able to attend when Station 31 comes up. Usually in the chief's report, there's a capital projects update. There is none this time, and I presume because there's nothing new to report, which speaks volumes perhaps on its own. I have here, I was hoping to project it, but I guess I didn't arrange for the proper equipment. It's a picture I took this morning on the way into this meeting, and it's looking through the window of Station 30, and there's a big old NDF truck parked in there. Now, I care as much about the health and safety of our firefighters. I mean, they're people that are going to save our property or our lives. I think I care about their health and safety as much as anybody else. Leaves one wondering if NDF cares the same amount about their people, or maybe there's some other explanation. They're using it some months and not some other months. I don't know. But Station 30 was closed in the context of a new station possibly being opening next month, and it isn't. There have been rumors. I mean, I try to talk to people, even though you haven't seen me, that there's possibility of scaling back what is intended for Station 31. I sure hope that's not the case. The whole plan was about consolidating the stations was done in the context that a full-scale station be done and that there be a place for the sheriff's department to do reports, and most important, a heliport for REMSA. And since that was all done, REMSA, I believe, has pulled back to within pretty much the McCarran circle, so it's all dependent. The EMS is mainly dependent on Truckee Meadows people. Carson City, yeah, but Carson City, I believe I read that they're about to build another station because they're running out, they have too much, they're too busy. So that them being able to cover this very south end of Washoe Valley, I raised the question back then, but I raise it again. So some of this is history, and you probably don't want to revisit it. I might want to, but that's my business. Has everything that can be done been done now? Has everything been done to get the paperwork filed? And how about a temporary loan? How about a sort of a construction loan that'll be paid off by the big loan so that the work that needs to be done ahead of time, the site preparation or what, I don't even know the right terminology for it all. Why not do that now and get things moving along? This is a ticking time bomb. If there's another Little Valley fire or something, God forbid.
Thank you. Any board questions or comments on the fire chief report? I'm not seeing any. Vice Chair Herman, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yes. All right, we will now move into item 10. Chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 10 is a recommendation to approve an agreement for the sale and purchase of district-owned property in the amount of $312,625 for a 0.38 acre parcel of land located at 470 Foothill Road, APN 044-300-19, commonly known as Truckee Meadows Fire Protection District Station 33, and authorize the chair to execute the agreement and to perform all actions required of the seller as described in the agreement. A number of years ago, Tumwa had approached us about the need to build a water booster pump station. They identified the area behind Station 33 as ideal for that. The land that's there really doesn't lend itself to adding additional capacity to that station because there's a substantial drainage easement that runs through that property. Nevertheless, we've come to terms with Tumwa to recommend to you. The deal will be that the money will go into escrow while Tumwa goes through its due diligence with the county and gets the subdivision or whatever they need to do with county planning to get that approved, and then the funds would be dispersed to the district. If you have any questions about why it's needed, there is a representative from Tumwa here to answer any questions you might have. But it's a simple deal, I think, and would benefit certainly a resource that we need quite often, and that's water. And it's as simple as that.
Yes, looks like a win-win. Looking to the board to see if there's any questions. Not Vice Chair Herman, do you have any questions on this item?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Madam Clerk, any public comment?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I am looking for a motion from the board on this item then.
So moved.
Okay, so Vice Chair Herman, you motion, second from Commissioner Garcia. Any questions on the motion? I'm hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. I heard, okay, we'll wait until the computer comes up. I thought I heard a verbal yes from everyone. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, and thank you, Chief and Tumwa, for working together on that item. Now, we're moving to item 11, which we will move upstairs to do that item. So after, we'll take that item after 12 and 13, and we'll also take public comment on item 11. So now we will move to item 12. Chief.
Item 12 is the final Commissioners' Fire Chief's announcements, requests for information, topics for future agendas, and statements relating to items not on the agenda, and no discussion among commissioners will take place on this item.
Thank you, Chief. Any commissioners have comments or questions? Vice Chair Herman?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. Then with that, we'll move to item 13.
Item 13 is final public comment. Comment heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Board of Fire Commissioners' agenda. The district will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person, and comments are to be made to the Board of Fire Commissioners as a whole.
Thank you, Chief. And Madam Clerk, it looks like we do have public comment.
Tracy Thomas.
Good morning. Yes, it's still morning. Just would like to ask for maybe some consideration that maybe in the future agendas that the public comment maybe come before the chief's last comment so that he could also maybe address some of those. Because the last public comments, I was just kind of waiting to see if some of the stuff that I had, questions I had, was going to be addressed in the agenda. I noticed that you skipped over item B on number 9. I was kind of interested to hear about some of those statistics and just recognizing what these folks are working so hard at. I mean, these numbers are actually pretty incredible. I think they're kind of alarming, especially the EMS response calls to Sun Valley. It'd be interesting to see if there's any reports on that that might break it down, kind of like the coroner's reports. How many of those incidences are related to drug overdoses? Or are they crime-related? I mean, I'm sure these gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen are sometimes put in some precarious situations. So I think they should be recognized for that. Also, I was interested in, I had a gentleman ask me, as far as making some defensible space around his home. He had an inspector out there to inspect his solar panels and his septic tank or something like that. And the inspector told him that he was not allowed to remove the sagebrush because it was a protected vegetation, native vegetation or something like that. So I just wanted to see if there was some validity to that, if there's some code that he can look up, if somebody could get back to us on that. And then I think also the other thing I had missed. But anyway, I think that's pretty much all I had. Just if there was another resource to get more information on the incidents that are reported to the mutual aid situation, because that was excluded from these figures. So they actually respond to even more than this. And it would be interesting to have those numbers as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else has signed in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will adjourn the meeting, but come back upstairs for item 11 and also take public comment on item 11 if folks want to do that. So thank you very much, everyone, for a great meeting.